The music stopped. Not slowly, not gently. It stopped like someone had cut the air in half. Champagne glasses froze in midair. Laughter died in people's throats. The chandelier lights above the grand hall of the Adeyemi mansion in Ikoyi still shone brightly. But nobody was smiling anymore. Every head turned toward the staircase. Toward her. Ola, the maid. She stood there in a simple black dress that did not belong to her. Her back was straight. Her chin was lifted. Her eyes were calm. And beside her stood Henry Adeyemi, the billionaire, Vivian's husband. Vivian's perfect smile cracked. "How dare you?" Vivian's voice cut through the silence. But Henry did not move away from Ola. He did not look ashamed. He looked proud. And that was when the whispers began. "What is going on? Why is the maid standing there like that? Did she just come down with Mr. Adeyemi?" Vivian's fingers tightened around her diamond clutch bag. Her heart pounded so loudly she could almost hear it over the silence. Because this was not how tonight was meant to go. Tonight was meant to be Ola's humiliation. Instead, the party had stopped. For her, and no one yet understood why. 3 weeks earlier, Ola first stepped into the Adeyemi mansion with one small suitcase and a quiet prayer in her heart. She was 22, slim, soft-spoken, from a small town in Ogun State. She had come to Lagos to work and send money home to her mother and younger brother. The house was bigger than any building she had ever entered. Marble floors, tall glass windows, gold-framed mirrors, in the kind of place that made you afraid to breathe too loudly. Vivian Adeyemi walked down the stairs that first day in a white silk robe, her heels clicking softly. Vivian was beautiful, light-skinned, always perfectly dressed, always smiling in public. But her eyes were sharp. "You must be the new help," Vivian said, looking Ola up and down slowly. "Yes, Ma," Ola replied softly. "Good. I do not like lazy girls, and I do not like girls who think they are special." Ola nodded. She did not know what that meant yet, but she would soon find out. Henry Adeyemi was rarely home. When he was, the house felt different, quieter, almost gentler. Unlike Vivian, he greeted staff by name. "Good morning, Ola." It shocked her the first time he said it. He knew her name. Vivian noticed. And from that day, something in Vivian changed. These small things at first. "Redo the living room. You missed a spot. Stand properly when I speak to you." Then it grew worse. One afternoon, Vivian hosted her friends for lunch. "Ola," she called loudly as her friends sat around the glass dining table. "Come here." Ola walked in, hands folded neatly. "Tell them where you are from," Vivian said with a sweet smile. "Ogun State, Ma." Vivian laughed lightly. "Of course," her friends chuckled. "And tell them what your mother does." Ola hesitated. "She sells vegetables, Ma." "Oh, how lovely," Vivian said. "From vegetables to billionaires." Lagos is truly a land of opportunity. The table burst into laughter. Ola forced a smile. Henry was not home that day, but someone else heard it. Mercy, the head housekeeper. She watched everything. She said nothing, but her eyes were worried. Days passed. When then Vivian made an announcement. "We are hosting the biggest charity gala of the year. Politicians, CEOs, investors from London." Her eyes slid toward Ola. "And you will serve drinks." The smile on Vivian's face was calm. Too calm. Ola felt something cold settle in her stomach. Because the way Vivian looked at her was not the look of a woman planning a normal party. It was the look of someone planning a lesson. And Ola had no idea how cruel that lesson would be. Until the night the music stopped. Chapter 2. The night of the gala arrived faster than Ola expected. The Adeyemi mansion looked like a palace. Gold chairs lined the garden. Long white tables glittered under soft lights. Expensive cars filled the driveway. Important people stepped out in designer clothes, laughing and shaking hands. Ola stood in the kitchen, wearing a neat black uniform dress and low heels Mercy had borrowed for her. "You will be fine," Mercy whispered, adjusting Ola's collar. "Keep your head down. Do your job." Ola nodded, but her hands were shaking. From the balcony upstairs, Vivian watched everything. Her red gown sparkled under the lights. Diamonds shone around her neck. She looked perfect and dangerous. Make sure the maid serves table 3, Vivian told the event planner quietly. That is where the investors are seated. Yes, Mom. Vivian's lips curved into a small smile. The party began smoothly. Soft music played. Glasses clinked. Cameras flashed. Henry moved through the crowd confidently, greeting guests. Ola walked carefully between tables, balancing a tray of champagne glasses. Careful, a man muttered as she passed. Yes, sir, she replied politely. Now then it happened. As Ola reached table 3, Vivian suddenly stood up from her seat and raised her voice. Oh dear, she gasped dramatically. Ola, are you sure you know how to hold that tray? All eyes turned. Ola froze. I trained you properly, did I not? Vivian continued sweetly. Or are village habits hard to forget? A few guests laughed awkwardly. Henry stopped mid-conversation. Ola swallowed. I am sorry, Mom. Sorry? Vivian tilted her head. No, no. Show them how steady you are. Vivian stepped closer. Too close. And with one smooth movement, she tapped the bottom of the tray. It was not hard, but it was enough. The glasses tipped. Champagne spilled. A crystal glass shattered loudly on the marble floor. Gasps filled the garden. Silence followed. Ola dropped to her knees immediately. I am so sorry. Unbelievable, Vivian cut in sharply. In front of my guests, someone whispered. Is she even trained? Henry's jaw tightened, but he did not speak. Vivian folded her arms. Stand up, Ola. Look at everyone. This is what happens when you try to act above your level. The words hung heavy in the air. Ola slowly lifted her face. Her cheeks burned. Her eyes shone. But she did not cry. And that was when Henry finally moved. He stepped forward, not toward Vivian, toward Ola. And what he did next made the entire party fall silent. Henry bent down, not halfway, not carelessly. He bent fully and helped Ola pick up the broken glass. The crowd gasped softly. Sir, Ola whispered, shocked. It is fine, Henry said calmly. No one is hurt. Vivian's smile faded. Henry, she said lightly, though her voice was tight. Please, the staff can handle that. Henry stood up slowly. His eyes did not leave Ola. She is not the staff, he said quietly. She is a human being. The words landed like stones in still water. No one moved. The investors at table 3 exchanged looks. A woman in a blue gown leaned toward her husband and whispered something. Vivian forced a laugh. Of course she is, but she must learn. This is a high-level event. Ola's fingers trembled slightly, but she kept her head straight. I can clean it, sir, she said softly. Henry nodded once. Take your time. He turned and faced the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, he said with a smooth voice, please enjoy the evening. Accidents happen. Slowly, the music started again. Conversation returned. But the air had changed. Vivian's eyes burned. Later that night, inside the kitchen, Ola washed glasses quietly. Mercy stood beside her. You did not cry, Mercy said softly. Ola shook her head. If I cry, she wins. Mercy gave her a small nod of respect. Just then, Vivian walked in. The room became cold. Leave us, Vivian told Mercy. Mercy hesitated, then stepped out. Vivian folded her arms and stared at Ola. You think you are clever? She asked quietly. No, Ma. You think because my husband defended you, you are special? Ola kept her eyes lowered. No, Ma. Vivian stepped closer. Let me tell you something, she whispered. Men like Henry are kind in public, but kindness does not change status. You will always be the help. Ola said nothing. Vivian smiled slowly. Tomorrow you will not wear that ugly uniform. Ola blinked in confusion. You will dress properly, and I want you to serve inside the main hall. Ola's stomach tightened. Why would she move her closer to the guests after tonight? Vivian leaned closer. Because tomorrow, she said softly, I will finish what I started. She turned and walked out. Ola stood frozen. She did not understand the plan, but she felt it. Something bigger was coming. And this time, it would not be an accident. The next evening, the mansion looked even brighter than before. More guests, more cameras, more powerful people, and right in the middle of it all stood Ola. but she was not wearing her maid uniform. Vivian had given her a fitted black evening dress. It was simple but elegant. It hugged her slim frame neatly. Her hair was brushed back into a smooth, low bun. Mercy had helped her apply light makeup. "You look beautiful," Mercy whispered. Ola looked at herself in the mirror. For a moment, she did not recognize the girl staring back. But she knew one thing. This was not kindness. This was a trap. The main hall was filled with important guests from Lagos and abroad. A famous investor from London stood near the stage. Politicians laughed loudly near the bar. Vivian moved through the room like a queen. Then she tapped her glass. "Everyone, please," she said sweetly. "May I have your attention?" The music softened. Henry turned toward her, curious. Vivian smiled brightly. "Tonight is about charity, about lifting others, about giving opportunities to those less fortunate." Polite claps followed. "And speaking of opportunity," she continued, her eyes sliding toward Ola, "I want to show you something inspiring." Ola felt every eye in the room move toward her. "Come here." "Canola," Vivian said. Slowly, Ola stepped forward. Vivian placed an arm lightly around her shoulders. "This young lady works in my home," Vivian said proudly. "She came to Lagos with nothing. No education, no connections. Just hope." Soft murmurs filled the room. Vivian's smile widened. "So tonight, I thought it would be entertaining for her to experience how the other half lives." A few awkward laughs. Ola's heart pounded. "Tell them," Vivian continued sweetly, "what your mother sells in the market." Silence. Ola's throat felt dry. "Vegetables," she said quietly. "Louder," Vivian pressed. "Vegetables," Ola repeated, her voice steady now. Vivian laughed lightly. "And now look at you, wearing a gown more expensive than your entire village." The room went still. Henry's face darkened. Vivian turned to the guests again. "Isn't it amazing what generosity can do?" A man near the front frowned. A woman shook her head slightly. Ola slowly lifted her chin. Her eyes were no longer soft. They were calm, very calm. And that was when the investor from London suddenly stepped forward and said something no one expected. "Excuse me," he said clearly. "May I speak to the young lady?" The entire hall froze. Vivian blinked. Henry's attention sharpened, and Ola stepped forward, into a moment that would change everything. The London investor walked closer. He was tall, older, dressed in a sharp navy suit. His voice was calm but firm. "What is your name?" he asked gently. "Ola, sir." He nodded slowly. "Ola, how long have you worked here?" "6 months, sir." "And before that?" "I helped my mother in the market, sir." The room was silent. Cameras were still recording. Our phones were lifted slightly. The man smiled faintly. "Do you read?" "Yes, sir." "Do you write?" "Yes, sir." Vivian forced a small laugh. "Of course she does. We encourage growth in our home." The man did not look at Vivian. He kept his eyes on Ola. "What did you want to become before you came to Lagos?" Ola hesitated. This was not part of Vivian's plan. She could feel Vivian's fingers tighten slightly on her arm. "I wanted to study accounting, sir," Ola said clearly. "I like numbers." A quiet murmur passed through the crowd. The investor's expression changed. "Interesting," he said. Henry stepped forward now, standing slightly beside Ola. Vivian noticed. Her smile grew thinner. The investor reached into his inside pocket and pulled out a slim black card. "My firm sponsors young people with potential," he said. "Full scholarships, internship placements, mentorship." The hall grew tense. "I would like to interview you," he said, holding the card toward Ola. Gasps filled the room. Vivian's hand dropped from Ola's shoulder. Henry looked at Ola. Ola looked at the card. She did not rush. She did not smile widely. She simply asked, "Why me, sir?" The investor's answer cut through the air. "Because while you were being mocked," he said calmly, "you did not shrink. You did not cry. You stood straight." The silence that followed was heavy. Vivian's face had lost its color. Some guests began clapping softly, then louder. Henry's voice finally rose. "I think that is a wonderful opportunity." Vivian turned sharply toward him. But Henry did not look at her. He looked at Ola. "Take it," he said quietly. Ola slowly reached out and accepted the card. The applause grew stronger. What had started as humiliation had turned into something else, something no one had planned. But just as the clapping filled the hall, a voice from the back interrupted sharply. "Wait!" The doors at the entrance had opened, and the person standing there was someone from Ola's past, someone who knew a truth that could destroy everything. The music stopped again,